John, I'm so happy you were able to join us for the camp this year and the festival. Everybody's like really happy talking about, we're always talking about groove drummers, although they get into all kinds of techniques. It's really important, the groove. So I'm really happy that you're spending so much time with us and our people here. I want to ask you my first question, apart from being thankful that you took the time out to join us.
It's an honor. And I haven't had this much fun in a long time, ever. Actually ever.
Really?
This is one of the best clinics and festive event that I ever done.
Oh, wow. Well, that's really nice to hear. Thank you so much,
yeah.
John. I mean, with KoSA, our mission is now we're celebrating our 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
And for us, it's really important to bring all the best, the top people on the planet, and people come to study with them and live with them, spend time, and go beyond the usual class situation, and really go deeper in some of the subjects, and everybody gets a whole total percussion experience. So that's really nice of you to say that. Appreciate it. Mission
No
accomplished.
problem.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, when you're practicing drums, in your style, and I'm sure, you play all kinds of different styles, but the one thing you're noted for and spoken of is the groove. How do you practice groove? To develop groove?
Well, what I used to do when I was a kid, when I was, middle school, high school years, I would come home every day and listen to records. From school, I would come home and I put a record on or tape cassette and practice to the songs. Like I practiced to Prince's music, I'd practice to Cameo, Parliament, Maze, Frankie Beverly, and so many other artists that I listened to back then. I just practiced continuously to a particular song or sometimes the whole record. And what I would do is I would learn the track note for note. I would learn the drum parts note for note for certain songs on the records. And I'm talking about like, even if I had to start for a little bit, listen to it, okay, I got that. Next section, listen to the next section, until I learned everything that the drummer played on the track. And then I would play on top of the drummer, which helps with time, actually. And I would try to eclipse the drummer where you don't even hear the drummer no more. It's me playing over him, everything that he's playing. And that's the way I was able to, jam, or play with somebody, because none of my friends in my neighborhood, none of them played bass or keyboards or guitar. They were not musicians. So that's the only way I could play with somebody, was to play with the records.
Right. But you had a private teacher who you worked with after a while, or not? Or did you develop all this on your own?
For groove, it was my father, John Blackwell Sr. That's who, as far as grooving, I learned from him. Technically, when it came to technique, it was between my high school band director, W.E. Lyles, who was the band director for jazz and marching band, and rudiments and marching band, drumline competitions, because I was in drumline back then. And then also another teacher named Jimmy Lee, who graduated from W.J. Keenan High School, which is where I went, and he used to come and tutor all the drumline guys, being an alumni of Keenan. And then this one day, Jimmy took all the drummers to a store called Sims Music to, to go see a drum clinic that was held by Dom Famularo.
Okay.
And I was 14 years old, and I got a chance to see Dom. And I never seen a drummer like that before. I was totally blown away. I was just like, his feet technique, his speaking, talking to us and motivating us, and his hands. I mean, it was just, I'd never seen nothing like that before. And I was so into it to the point to where I followed him to the next city. My dad took me to Atlanta, which is where Dom was heading next, and he's getting ready to teach a private student at Atlanta Pro Percussion. And we walk in, and I see Dom. I say, "Hey, Dom, it's John Blackwell. I was at your clinic in Columbia. Remember me?" And he was like, "Oh Lord, this kid."
I'm sure you didn't say that. But.
I don't think so. But he was. After that, he took me under his wings, and then also taking lessons with Jimmy Lee, and taking lessons from a guy named Marcus Williams. Now, when I got a chance to see Marcus, he taught me about foot technique and just so many ways to get around the drums. And one thing that he taught me special was how to play double pedal patterns on one foot. Which is why, it's just how he showed me exercises on how to develop my foot to be able to play on anybody's pedal and do whatever I wanted to do. And so, all of that combined with my dad teaching me about keeping it in the pocket, because the main thing was my dad told me, "Son, if you want to make some money and be in the music business, play in the pocket, and you'll be fine." And I never forgot that. But I also wanted to have technique as well, which is where Jimmy Lee and Marcus Williams came into play. And then later on, watching Dennis Chambers and watching Vinny and Tony Williams and Billy Cobb and Narada Michael Walden, Elvin Jones, Art Blakey, Papa Joe Jones, Philly Joe, Roy Haynes, Max Roach, Baby Dawes, Big Sid Catlett, all those people.
Right.
Definitely Art Blakey. I was really into Art Blakey a long time ago, and still am. And learning that Tony Williams was influenced by Blakey and also Roy Haynes was a big influence in Philly Joe on Tony. Tony's my hero. Whose hero he is. Everybody loves Tony.
Right.
So yeah, that's where the technical side came in, but the groove side was definitely my dad. My dad played with a lot of Motown artists like Joe Tex, King Curtis, Mary Wells, the Spinners, the Drifters, and Joe Simon, J.J. Jackson. He played with so many people that I never knew until later on in life that he told me he played with these people.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting because, you mentioned all of these people, so I think it's important, what you're really saying is to go and see these people, listen to the records, and really analyze, and that's the teacher. That's partly the teacher. Of course, we need a coach.
Yeah.
And then, like something like this camp where, we have yourself, Dennis Chambers, and we have 18 faculty here, so people can spend really quality time and intimate time getting to some really important questions, and actually showing, this is what I do. But it's your concept, but then you learn that, and then you have to make it your own, because we all behave differently,
right,
physically. So we sit differently. Our hands are different. So we need to take it and personalize it.
Right. Exactly.
What would you suggest to someone who wants to be in a professional, how to get out there, how to prepare themselves?
Network. you know, hone your skills. Make sure that you're definitely up to par in grooving and knowing how to play with people, respecting the music and playing the songs, and have your skills, your technical skills together. Discipline, knowing when and when not to. Take a chance, go to as many jam sessions as possible, sit in with people in the who's who. Have a business card ready, because you never know. You never know, they might call you, so you don't go in there writing on a napkin, oh, here's my number.
No,
And they use it later on as a little table napkin for their drink. Then you're not
stays
gonna,
Right.
have a card, business card.
Exactly.
They won't forget, So, and then if you're doing your own gigs, be on your A game. Don't if some artists might stumble upon your gig. Don't go to try to show off. Do what you always doing, and keep it in the groove, and because you never know, they might come up to you later on and say, hey. But if you're showing off, they're gonna be like, yeah, he was all right, he was showing off too much. Let's go.
Sure. No, that's pretty evident when people are just taking it off the top. If you're taking it out of context, because if somebody's going to be inspired or like what they see and hear, is exactly what you do. If you try and step it up, then it's not natural. It's not the same, and that comes through.
I think it was a blessing when I was playing with Patti LaBelle in '99, and we were in Minneapolis actually, and we were playing the Orpheum Theater, and Patti was, getting it in, doing her thing, and Larry Graham and Prince were in the audience, and Prince told me what he said to Larry. He actually said, if I can get that kid in my band, I can really make something out of him. And that's what from word for word, that's what he told me, he said. And they went to the side of the stage, got a closer look. But I was so into my job as playing for Patti and keeping that thing going for her. But the bass player spotted Larry Graham. And of course, every bass player loves Larry Graham. So he freaks out and he's like, John, look. I was like, man, Patty's singing. Why am I going to look over there? So Prince and Larry saw that the bass player pointed at them for me to look. So they stood further back in the shadows of the side of the stage so I couldn't see them. I'm so happy that happened. Because if I would have saw him, I probably would have been like, I just kept focused on. I said, I don't know who those people are focused on Patti, man. Come on. So after the show was over, the bass player throws his bass off. He didn't put it down. He threw it off because he was still like in awe that Larry Graham was back there. And he runs up to Larry Graham, and Larry Graham pushes him out the way, and comes towards me. And I was just like, oh my God, that's Larry Graham, which is who he was trying to get me to look at earlier. And Larry came up to me and he said, oh man, I feel a connection between me and you. He said, here's my card, stay in touch with me. And I was like, yes, sir. And then next thing you know, two bodyguards come up, and then Prince comes up. And Prince was like, my God, you're unbelievable. And, I'll see you soon. And I was like, he didn't take my number, he didn't get my email address or anything. How he's going to see me soon? But, lo and behold, it was through Larry Graham that, I got my messages to Prince. But Prince came to a show after that in New York because Shaka Khan was on the same bill, and he went to play with Shaka Khan, sit in a song that Shaka covered from his catalog, which was "I Feel for You." So we're in New York City at Madison Square Garden Theater, and I'm on the side of the stage with Patty and her musical director watching Shaka sing, and then I said, I feel somebody is watching me. So I turned, and it's Prince and his bodyguard, and I was like, hey, and he was like, hi, and then I said, how's Larry? He's like, fine, and I was like, how you doing? He's fine, And I thought to myself, I said, you know what? I might not ever get this chance ever again. I'm going to ask this man if I can play with him or jam with him at least one time. And before I could say I want to jam with you, he asked me.
Okay.
And I was just like, yes. He said, contact me after your tour with Patty. Don't contact me in the middle of the tour. Contact me after the tour. And I was like, yes, sir. And we jammed, and first it was just a one-time jam, and then next thing you know, he started calling me back up, jamming with him and Larry Graham, and then 8 months later, he asked me to join his band, and 14 years later,
Beautiful, yeah.
I mean, I've done things in between the 14 years, like I toured with a lot of Japanese pop stars that are big in Japan, and recorded with P. Diddy and Lauryn Hill and so many other people I can't name right now, and toured with Justin Timberlake for 2 years, so it's been a blessing, to work with all these artists, and definitely if it weren't for Prince, if it wasn't for, I should say, if it wasn't for my father, I wouldn't have got to where I am right now.
Yeah, well, also, I mean, you believed in it, and you did the work. It's like when you have this burning passion, you really want to do this at any costs. You put in the work, and then you have people who support you and push you in the direction that you wish to be pushed.
Well, my dad told me, my dad said, I'll never forget, he said, you're going to be a drummer, and that's final. I had no choice. And he invested a lot and kept bringing me to concerts to see people like, Luther Vandross with Yogi Horton on drums, and
wow, yes.
Seeing the Commodores, seeing the Jacksons in '84 with Jonathan Moffett on drums.
Yes, yes.
Cameo with Jonathan Moffett on drums, and Larry Blackman, the leader of Cameo, playing drums, opening up for Rick James on the Street Songs Tour, Rick James drummer, a Gap Band, and, so many artists that I got a chance to see back then. And my dad having all the connections that he had from his history, I got a chance to meet these drummers. Definitely Yogi was a big, big influence, because Yogi would always give us second or front row seats. And I never forget, one minute everybody in the audience got their eye on Luther, but Yogi would just explode, and everybody would go like this to.
Right.
Yogi was a beast, man.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, and then so many Moffett, all these drummers,
Another great drummer, yeah. Jonathan Moffett. Well, John, I really want to thank you for taking the time to do this
I hope
interview
to be
and sharing.
back.
Yes.
I would love to do this again, because this is the most fun I ever had. I love the students, and they're willing to learn. I never had this kind of fun teaching ever.
Wow. Well, thank you.
I taught all over the world, taught at Berkeley and all these places, but this right here is the best. It's the best thing I've ever done. And I'm not just saying that.
And I didn't prompt
I really
you.
mean it.
No, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, John.
All right, thank you.
To be continued.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.